I'll look at this later. Let's talk about the decks. So one of the decks we got is from Old Raging Bull, who had to drop on the tournament. I have the deck list here on Melee pulled up, so I was just going to use Melee. But I do appreciate the Scryfall link there, Lucas. So Old Raging Bull had to drop from the tournament. I understand completely. But this was their deck. They went with the red deck wins with 2 Antagonize, 2 Blazing Crescendos, 2 Experimental Synthesizers, 2 Witch's Mark, 4 Candy Trails, 4 Ginger Brutes, 4 Goblin Blast Runners, 4 Goblin Tomb Raiders, 4 Lightning Strikes, 4 Mirrodin Bane Splitters, 4 Torch the Tower, 4 Voldaren Epicure, and 20 Mountains. Also, along with a sideboard of 2 more Antagonize, 2 more Blazing Crescendos, 2 more Experimental Synthesizers, 2 more Witch's Marks, 3 Strangles, and 4 Abrades. So pretty interesting sideboard. Sideboard sucks, sorry. That's what Bull says. Very interesting, though, red deck. We are using cards like Candy Trail, Ginger Brute, Voldaren Epicure, Synthesizer to enable, and Bane Splitter to enable Goblin Tomb Raider. Goblin Tomb Raider being the big new card that can just kind of punch in. DW sideboarding in general in this format is going to be questionable. True. There's not a lot to like think about sideboarding. I had 3 Honored Heirloom to fight Terra matchups and just realized it was just bad. Yeah, we'll get to your deck second. No, third. We'll kind of go in order of tournament. We also have Candy Trails and Ginger Brutes and the Blood Tokens and the Synthesizer to enable Chris Lumen. Thank you so much for subscribing. I believe that is also on YouTube. To inactivate Goblin Blast Runner. So you can clearly see with cards like Blazing Crescendo, Antagonize, we're going to use fast, aggressive, hasty creatures between Goblin Blast Runner and Tomb Raider to try to punch in as much damage as possible. Using other cards like Mirrodin Bane Splitter and Lightning Strike and Torch Tower. Okay, no, Torch Tower is just kind of removal. And Lightning Strike to just kind of close the game out. You also have Ginger Brute that can go unblockable. You could just pump up a lot. And on the sideboard, we have extra pump spells. Witch's Mark is a nice card to filter, discard a card, draw some cards. You get a Wicked Roll token to bolster up your dorks as well. And Torch the Tower to kind of deal with your opponent's stuff. Experimental Synthesizer and Blood token to also just try to find more things as well. And Blazing Crescendo is kind of cool too because you exile the top card of your library. You may play it in a turn. So it kind of has a built-in Experimental Synthesizer kind of backing. So pretty interesting. 20 lanes is too much. It's got to be like 16 or 17 playtesting settled it for me. Gotcha. Gotcha. Learning experience is true. In the future, I think I would have put 3 Wraithforms of Format in the sideboard slot after consideration. Yeah, Wraithfiends and Format would have been really strong. That card's been super duper good. So this is our mono red aggro, our red deck wins from Old Raging Bull, who unfortunately wasn't able to play, but pretty interesting build. Would have been fun to see Goblin Tomb Raider in this kind of build and see how the red deck would have ran. But I understand. So Bull, next time. We'll get you next time. I have Eyes 18 with 2 Autonomous Forges. Yeah, that 18 is probably where I'd be at too. And then, yeah, the Autonomous Forge probably wouldn't be too bad. So let's go on to our next deck. This is Mono Blue Aggro, is what Lucas has it labeled as, or also known as Terror. So we got to see this deck a couple times. I guess we got to see everybody twice. So that's nice. We did get to see every deck twice. Main deck, we have Balluna's Gatekeeper. This is a 6/5 for 6 giant soldier that has entry denied sorcery. You may return target creature you don't control with mana value 3 or less to its owner's hand. Big old 6/5. Actually, let's do this. There. Make the cards a little bit bigger. Impede Momentum. This is a 2-drop sorcery. Tap target creature, put 3 stun counters on it. We saw these stun counters pop up quite a bit. Seem fairly good. Lunas is the card I'm seriously consider in the sideboard of Mono Blue Terror and Normal Pauper. Why would you So, Tup, what's your opinion of that then? Like, what are you bringing that in against? Out of curiosity. Be good against Coggates, probably. You also get to scry 1 off this impede momentum. 2 stasis fields. This is the one that turns the creature into a 0/2 defender. So pretty good there. Control / mid-range matchups where a large threat is powerful. Well, it's mana value 3 or less, right? Well, it's ability. I guess you could just have a 6/5, right? Hmm. The the card that's been giving me trouble all day, if Hara's Dispersal. I don't know. The Gatekeeper is an interactive spell that's also just a 6/5. True. It is true. This is a 2-drop instant. This spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets an attacking creature. Return to creature's own hands to avail 2. Saw this card do quite a bit of work today on Lucas's side. It also did a lot of work in my brain spasming out of how to pronounce it. But seemed like a pretty good card. I feel like it did quite a bit of work for him today. Freeze in Place, another card we saw Lucas cast quite a bit to do a lot of work. This is a 2-drop sorcery. Tap target creature and opponent controls, put 3 stun counters on it, and scry 2. So pretty similar to Impede Momentum, just a little bit better by having an additional scry onto it. So I understand why you're playing 4 of it instead of 4 of Impede. We have 4 negates, which that might be my favorite negate artwork. I like that artwork on negate a lot. Pretty self-explanatory. Counter target non-creature spell. Obria's Attendant. This card is pretty cool. A 3/4 flyer for 5 that also has Desperate Parry. A 2-drop instant where target creature gets -4, -0. But a 3/4 flyer is just pretty solid overall. Quick Study is a 4 of to just draw some more cards. Scatter Ray is a 4 of counter target artifact or creature unless this controller pays 4, which seemed pretty good against Tup. We have 4 Spell Pierce to just Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce is Spell Pierce. You know what I mean? 4 Modern Ages, which is Modern Age is just a solid card. It's a saga that allows you to draw and then discard a card. Then it turns into a 2/3 flyer. Tolarian Terror, the namesake, just a boss card. This card is so good. So good on so many levels. 18 islands. And then for a sideboard, we have 3 shore-ups to help with the removal spells. 4 Out of Air. This is a 4-drop instant. This spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a creature spell, counter target creature. So if we come across the creature matchup, we have ways to deal with it. Urza's Rebuff. This is a 3-drop instant. Choose 1 counter target spell or tap up to 2 target creatures. So it feels pretty good. You bring it in as a counter spell, or if you have a go wide, so something like that mono red aggro deck, you can kind of just tap down some of their stuff. And then 4 Weak Zone Subjugation, which is it just felt like a strong card. It felt like a good card. Enchant artifact or creature, and when it enters the battlefield, if they have it untapped for some reason, you can just pay 3 extra to tap it down, and it stays permanently tapped. So that's Lucas's mono blue terror deck, mono blue aggro. Very interesting kind of build. I like the idea of it being less about. So like you think about terror in Magic and Pauper right now, where a lot of the deck it has the control elements, but it also has the elements to kind of turbo out terror. Where this deck is very much like, I'm going to control your board, not necessarily remove creatures, but I'm going to slow you down and then overwhelm you with terrors. It's a very interesting approach to terror, and I kind of like it. I like the, I don't know, there's something about tapping people's creatures that I just find frustrating, but in this like weird kind of like haha way where I hate it when it happens to me, but there's something satisfying when you just go tap your creature and it doesn't untap for 3 turns. You know what I mean? So I get it. Yeah, pretty interesting deck, Lucas. Thank you again for playing. I really do appreciate it. Let's move on to Tup's deck, our mono white mid-range deck, if you will. We got to see Tup go twice with this deck. What happened here? Why'd that go smaller when I went bigger? So, a lot of cards here. A lot of new stuff from Ixalan. So let's go over this. We have 1 Vanish into Eternity. We did get to see this card as a 1 of. We did get to see, actually, we saw this whole deck. Interesting. Cool. 1 Vanish into Eternity. This is a 3-drop instant. that this spell costs 3 more to cast if it targets a creature, exile target non-land permanent. We saw him take out. We saw Tup take out the Modern Age with their instant, and not with the instant, with Vanish into Eternity. I understand, like, this would kind of stink to target a creature because it's just a 5-drop to target a creature. So, 6-drop. But to see it snag a Modern Age was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. You generally do get to see the whole deck when it grinds out. Like, true. I mean, Lucas was down to 8 cards one game, and I think you had, like, I don't know, like 15. So yeah, that one game between you two really did grind out. It really did grind out quite a bit. 2 Destroy Evils. White Lotus will say this. I agree with White Lotus. He is correct. If you're playing a white deck, why do you not have a couple copies of Destroy Evil in the 75? The card is fantastic. Instant spell, 2-drop, destroy target creature, toughness 4 or greater, destroy enchantment. There was a time where I was like, when Lucas had those attendants on the field, I was like, man, those attendants are just in the way, and this Destroy Evil can just be like, oh, well, what's that? I think your toughness is a 4, Kisha, and just destroy it. You know what I mean? So Destroy Evil. I agree with Lotus on this one. Lotus, if you're in here, I agree with you, buddy. If you're playing white, like it's a staple. Alabaster Host Intercessor. Interesting name, wickedly cool artwork. Is a Phyrexian Samurai. Do I need to say more? It's a Phyrexian Samurai. How cool is that? It's a 3/4 enters battlefield. You get to journey to nowhere one of your opponent's creatures until it leaves. Also has plane cycling. Plane cycling is pretty interesting here. Yeah, I'm here. Destroy Evil is great. Love Destroy Evil. Really like this card. My biggest issue with something like this and like regular Pauper is just like Galvanic Blast, Cut Down. There's a lot of very easy ways to interact with it, and it being a 6-drop for 3/4 doesn't feel the best. Really cool card, probably great in limited, really good here because you're just not going to have as much interaction pieces as like regular Pauper. Really cool card, but very situational card. You know what I mean? So pretty interesting. 17 lands, I got it right. Oh yeah, that's what. Bull, when you were like, I bet they're playing 17 lands, I went and checked the list and it said 17. I didn't want to say it while the tournament was still going on, but you're totally right. I meant to say, like, when we got to here, being like, you're right, Bull. No, you're right. 17 lands. But yeah, Alabaster Host and Intercessor, really cool card. Seemed very effective here. Very good 2-for-1 with a nice backup of plane cycling. We have 4 Candy Trails. I'm a huge fan of this card. I think this card is fantastic. Enters battlefield, scry 2 cards. You tap it, tap 2, sacrifice it, gain 3 life, and draw a card. I like Candy Trail a lot. I'm a big fan of this card. 4 Captivating Caves, an interesting card. Again, I said at the beginning of the stream when you played Captivating Cave, I was like, I wonder if there's like a deck in Pauper where Captivating Cave is going to be the better option over Crystal Grotto. And I don't think there is, but it's still an interesting card. This is like one of those all-star limited cards though, right? Because it has the utility of putting on the counters. Also felt decent here. I totally get why you'd want to play this, especially in like a mono color deck, because you're just adding a utility land. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really need it to tap for mana, and you're just adding utility. Deadly Repost. I don't know if I'm saying it right. A 2-drop instant deals 3 damage to target tap creature, and you gain 2 life. Would have been really, really strong against the mono red deck. Unfortunately, didn't see a lot of use in the matchups today, but I totally understand why you would put 4 of these in your deck. Seems like a very strong card for something like this. It actually doesn't feel like a bad card in just regular Pauper. Think about how many cards this card could kill. Especially with, like, a mono red kind of format. Yeah, I like it. Arrow of Enlightenment, a cool card. Scry 1, draw 2. Scry 2, gain 2 life, then turns into a 2/2 first striker. Like I said, I like the Saga cards. I think there's a lot of value in them. I totally get why you want to play that. I'll talk about the lands in a second because I guess this visualizer is going to be a little weird. 4 Plunge into Winter. I wasn't a huge fan of this card because it doesn't like put a stun counter on. It doesn't stay tapped very much. But the target up to 1 creature to scry 1 and then draw a card felt pretty strong. And when we're in a format where we don't have access to Limboss because Lord of the Rings isn't legal, we don't have access to Ichor Wellspring, I totally understand why you'd put something like Plunge into Winter, because we did get to see you scry quite a bit with it and draw with it. So I completely understand like why it's here. I just kind of wish it would. I kind of wish it would do a little bit of what like Lucas is doing, where you're kind of adding like a stun counter. But maybe it's too good if you do that. You know what I mean? We have Quicksand Whirlpool. This is a 6-drop instant that this spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped creature, exile target creature. Just, it seemed like today this was a really efficient removal spell. Really enjoyed seeing Quicksand Whirlpool. Just seemed like a really nice and efficient removal spell for the deck. Did wonders against a couple of the matchups. It was just like, oh, we have this card. Soaring Sandwing, cool card. A 6-drop dinosaur. Who doesn't like dinosaurs? 3/5 flyer that when enters battlefield, gain 3 life. Also has plane cycling. This card would have been really strong against mono red because it's a 3/5. That's a hefty butt. But also gains 3 life when enters battlefield. And flying for nice invasion. We did get to see where Soaring Sandwing just kind of like stalled the board against Lucas. Against the Terror deck. Just feels pretty decent. Sunblade Samurai. This card wins the tournament for me in terms of artwork. The artwork on this card is so sick. This is a 4/4 for 5 human samurai enchantment creature with vigilance and channel of 2. You can discard it, search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then gain 2 life. So you can cycle it away, gain some life, but also it's a 4/4 vigilance, which is not bad. We have Tinker's Toe, maybe the standout of this deck. This card just seemed pretty strong. A 3-drop that creates 2 colorless gnome creature tokens that you can sacrifice to gain 3 life. Seemed pretty solid. Got to put some bodies out on the board. Got to get in some damage with the gnomes. Got to gain some life off of it. Not bad. I was pretty impressed with Tinker's Tote. I am curious to see if they can find a home for it in regular Pauper. I don't know why I have my voice there. Hold on. I don't know if it's gonna have like a regular spot there, but it's a cool card. I liked it quite a bit. We have, to round out the deck before we talk about lands, Union of the Third Path, a 4 of. This card is just solid. Draw a card, then you gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand. Not only can you gain a lot of life, but just have a consistent draw spell is pretty solid. I did get to use this when I was testing for Core Pauper. I was playing a Tron deck. Excuse me. I got to test this in, and I did like Union of the Third Path quite a bit. So to see it here is pretty nice. We have 5 basic planes. Standard, boring, let's move on. We have 4 hidden courtyards. Oh yeah, we have 4 captivating caves. I guess I already talked about captivating cave. I kind of looked over it as a land card. So we have 4 captivating caves, 9 planes, 4 hidden courtyards, 4 fair Balisca, which creates 17 lands. We have so many plane cycling. You know, you can kind of trim, be a little bit leaner on lands. Sorry, I apologize. But we have 4 hidden courtyards. Enters battlefield, it taps for planes. Tap 5 and it to sacrifice it and discover 4. We didn't get to see a discover activation, but really solid utility land. And then the fair Balisca, we did get to see, enters battlefield tapped. You can sacrifice it to draw a card. Feels good. Now, a lot of the time I've seen in white decks, you're more of a white weenie deck. So you don't want to have decks that come in tapped. But like, it's totally like, if you're playing like Boros or something, like I could see you like sliding in 1 or 2 of these. Either of these. These both seem like pretty solid utility lands. I like them. Down here in the sideboard, we have an extra Destroy Evil. 3 Honored Heirloom. This is a 3-drop artifact. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color, and then tap 2, exile target card from a graveyard. We have 3 more Vanish into Eternities. 4 Mirror Kinsmith. So this was interesting when I saw this come in. When it enters battlefield, you may search the library for a mirror card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. I would assume this was... I was assuming that this is in here for some kind of like... Tough if you're here. Why is mirror in the sideboard? I saw you bring it again against poison. My guess was to up your threat count. But like, I am curious. You have 4 of them in here. What was the original like thought about wanting to bring these in? And then 4 piercing light deals 2 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Scry 2. So just a nice piece of removal to add in if you needed some more interaction with small creatures. Mirror is in for really heavy removal matchups where they can basically be ignored by removal. Makes sense. Okay, no, I get that. Because if you're in a heavy removal matchup, you can trim down on like some of your like interactive pieces. Because you are kind of like in this mid area of like threats between, because you could count Air of Enlightenment, I guess. Like Tinker's Toad's not much of like a threat because it's just 1/1s. Like, yeah, it goes wide, but like, yeah, you're gonna be like, obviously you're gonna want to send your removal at like the big 3, right? So yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Because they ETB and get me a dude. True. I have 20 cards I can attack and win the game. Yeah, so I get that. That makes sense. Thank you for explaining that to me. So that is our mono white mid-range deck. Very interesting deck. You know what's really interesting about it is the mid-range aspect. Going on more of the, I'm going to kind of grind out the game a little bit and then like slowly take the advantage from you by having effective creatures and effective like removal package to like, you know what I mean? Like, instead of going the white weenie route where you dump your hand and be aggro, this is very much I'm going to kind of grind the game out a little bit, and over time, I'm going to gain the advantage. So, pretty interesting mono white deck. I like it. It's cool. And let's go on to the last deck, which is the deck that took down the tournament by Dmitry Medvedev. This is Dimir Control, or Dimir Tokens. Very similar to the poison counter deck we have today in Pauper. White Control makes red about as useful as playing Sorcery Speed Counterspell. Yeah, true. I think, Bull, if you were paired against that mono white deck, that would have been an uphill battle. You would have had to have a super aggressive start. So what we got going on here? Well, what's this deck doing? We got to see it. It is going to kill you by controlling your board and giving you poison counters. So instead of attacking you traditionally, it's going to just build up the poison counters and slowly get this inevitability to win the game. I've always felt like playing against this deck, once you get about 6 or 7 counters, the game's over. That's what it always feels like. That's what it kind of felt like a little bit today. So let's go over this deck. I'm going to ignore the lands and come back. Oh, we'll just do the lands first. 7 islands, 6 swamps for a basic package, 4 dismal backwaters, a land, blue-black land that enters battlefield, gain a life, and then 3 Maestro's Theater. This is a land that when it enters battlefield, you may search for a basic island, swamp, or mountain, put on the battlefield, tapped, and then gain a life. So a nice little thinning deck thinner. Also allows you to gain a life. We did see this deck a couple times hiccup on lands, where they were a little bit lower on their land count, but it didn't seem to be that much of an issue. I love Caprina lands. I do too. I love these lands. Capiena, or is it Caprina, or how do you say that? Capina? I don't know. Streets in New Caprina? I don't know. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much I mispronunciate things. It's fun. It's a fun thing worth noting that this is a lot of this deck is from one set, which is the Phyrexia. This will be 1 or whatever set. We have 4 Anoint with Afflictions. This is an instant 2-drop that exiles target creature with mana value of 3 or less. Corrupted, exile that creature instead if they have 3 or more poison counters. So obviously a lot of the time you're going to have more than 3 poison counters. So yeah, it pretty effective piece of removal. We have Blightbelly Rat, a card that I really like. Toxic 1, when it dies you get to proliferate. I've used this card in mono black sack before. This It's just a solid card. It's a solid creature. I'm sorry, my throat is all dried out. 4 Bring the Ending. This is a 2-drop instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. Corrupted is counter that spell if they have 3 or more. So nice little pseudo, Prozac. Nice little pseudo spell piercy in a way. It gets hit creatures, but also if you have the poison counters, then it's just straight up counter spell. Just straight up counter spell. 4 Considers to get a little bit of card advantage, surveil 1, draw a card. We have 4 Experimental Auguries. This is look at top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of the cards in your hand, the rest in the bottom in any order, then proliferate. My opinion, one of the best proliferate cards, just in general. Very good. Infectious Inquiry. This is a 3-drop sorcery. Draw 2 cards, and then you lose 2 life. Each opponent gets a poison counter. Pretty solid in a deck like this. Not only does it draw power to find you more poison cards, but also starts your poison counter. Something worth noting is there's not a lot of cards in this deck that gives your opponent poison counters. You have Blight Belly Rat, Infectious Inquiry, Vraska's Fall, and Prologue to Phyreses. And that's it. Everything else is just going to try to proliferate. I guess actually looking at it now, it's about equal. 4 Prologue to Phyreses. This is a 2-drop instant. Each opponent gets a poison counter, draw a card. 4 Sleight of Hands for card advantage. Look top 2 cards of your library, put 1 in their hand, put the other on the bottom of your library. 4 Vraska's Fall. This card seemed good. Each opponent sacrifices a creature and they get a poison counter. 4 Whisper of the Draws. Target creature gets -1, -1/10 and turn proliferate. We did get to see Medvedev target their own Blight Belly Rat to not have to try to pay the Tolarian Terror Ward. So that was very interesting. Sideboard wise, we have 2 Devious Cover-Up. This is a 4-drop instant. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. You may shuffle up to 4 cards from your graveyard to your library. 2 extra counter spells. Spell Pierce. 3 Tithing Blades. So that's our other Ixalan set. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices creature and then craft with creature. I like Tithing Blade a lot. I said when I did the set review, this is probably going to be one of the best cards in the set, and I feel like it probably is. 4 Disfigures, target creature gets -2/-2 in a turn, and 4 Negates to round it out. That, my friends, is our tournament. I want to thank the players so much for doing this. I had an absolute blast running this thing, watching it. I had a super fun time. Thank you all for playing. I really appreciate it. I hope next time it's going to be even better. We'll do, I don't know what we'll do yet, but I'm thinking maybe sometime in January, just as a heads up. So thank you all so much for doing it. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun with it. Feel free to join my Discord server if you want. Tup, I see you in there. If you want to join the Discord server to see where things like this come about. Also, we talk about other things as well. Yeah, Lucas, for sure. Thank you all for playing. It was super fun. Like I said, I want to do more tournaments. I had just a really good time trying to organize it. I love watching tournaments too. So thank you all so much for doing it. These will go up on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can follow me on Twitch for any time I go live. All my links and stuff will be down below. If you're watching on Twitch and you're not following me already, feel free to give me a follow. This is where I'm kind of moving my streaming to. But these will be uploaded onto YouTube throughout next week. So if you want to catch any of the replays, they'll be up on YouTube. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do match by match, the deck lists, and then the full stream upload. So that's what my plan is. I'll do match, deck list video, and then full upload. So breaking the stream up, obviously. So hopefully you will enjoy that and when it ever gets up on YouTube. Thank you for going through this with me. It was a fun learning experience, a fun learning curve to try to figure out how to do these tournaments. Thanks, everybody. I hope everybody has a wonderful Saturday. Thanks for taking time out of your Saturday to come do this, to watch it, to play. I do really appreciate it. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. and I will hopefully catch you on the flip side. Like I said, I'm going to share one more time in Twitch's chat to feel free to come join our Discord server and whatnot. So thanks, everybody. I will see you all in the future. Thanks for playing.